One sunny autumn day, Berry and Dolly went into the forest to pick blueberries. Their friends Flutter the butterfly and Eddie the potato beetle went with them. "I'm going to pick the most blueberries," Eddie announced. "Look, this bush is full of ripe blueberries," the little snail said. "I'm going to pick them all." But Eddie jumped in front of Berry and quickly picked the biggest berries. "This bush is full of berries too," Dolly told the others. But the little potato beetle was faster again. By the time Dolly got to the bush, he'd already picked the best of the berries. "Eddie, that's not fair. Don't pick all the berries," the little ladybird complained. Then the friends came to a stream. "Let's build a bridge over the stream," Flutter suggested. "And I know exactly how. Let's all go and bring that big log here." They had to work hard to pull the heavy log over the stream. The little friends made a super bridge together. "It's done," Flutter sighed. "Look, there's another blueberry bush with lots of berries on it." That was Eddie's cue. "I'm going to get there first. Those blueberries are all mine," he shouted triumphantly. But he pushed past Flutter so hard that she slipped and fell into the stream. "Help! Don't worry, Flutter. Hold on to me," Dolly shouted and stretched her hand out to the floundering butterfly. But the water flowed too fast and Flutter couldn't reach Dolly. Berry picked up a long stick. "Grab the stick, Flutter," he shouted. But this didn't work either, because the river started to carry the little butterfly away. "Eddie, help! We've got to pull poor Flutter out of the water," Dolly yelled, and they pulled the soggy butterfly out of the stream. "Oh my, I'm so cold. I'm very, very cold. And my little wings are soaked through." "Here, take my jumper. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, Flutter," Eddie said. "That's very nice of you," Dolly said, "but you'll catch a cold too without your jumper. We should collect a large pile of leaves and wrap Flutter up in them." Berry, Dolly and Eddie gathered a big bunch of burdock leaves and covered the shivering butterfly with them. "I'm still very cold and my wings don't work. Look, they're all wet and ruined." Flutter started to sob. The sun took pity on the weeping butterfly and came down close to warm her wings. Flutter's wings were soon beautifully dry and as good as new. "Hooray! I'm all dry and warm at last. Thank you, sun," Flutter said with a smile. "I'm so sorry, Flutter," Eddie said. "I promise I won't pick all the blueberries next time. I want you to have all the ones that I've picked." "Thank you, Eddie. Why don't we share them instead? Let's hurry home and bake a blueberry pie." The friends all walked back to Flutter's house and got to work straight away. They picked all the leaves off and gave the blueberries a good wash. Spoons stirred and pans clattered until the kitchen was filled with the sweet smell of delicious blueberry pie. The yummy dessert was soon ready. Stanley the stag beetle, Balthazar the bee and Bubble the baby beetle came along to join the feast. The forest friends all sat around the table and chatted late into the night. The bicycle. One summer day, a pigeon delivered a parcel to Berry and Dolly. It was quite a big parcel and wrapped in pretty red paper and tied with a blue ribbon. Dolly read the note attached. "It's from the centipede! Hooray! He's coming to visit us soon, and he sent us this present." "To us?" Berry asked. "What do you mean? To me or you? It says in the letter that it's for us. It's a present for both of us, I suppose. That's silly, Berry argued. I'm sure it's meant to be for me because I was the one who found him in the snow last Christmas. But he stayed at my house. I looked after him and made him tea, Dolly replied. But I read him caterpillar stories from the storybook, Berry added. The red wrapping paper wasn't that strong and it soon tore open. Wheels poked out from underneath. It's a bicycle, Berry exclaimed. It's just perfect for me. No, it's just perfect for me, Dolly insisted. All right, you can have the bicycle if you want it so much. I'll be the bigger person. You're behaving like a silly baby. That upset Berry. That's not fair. I'm going to be the bigger person and you're the silly baby. You can have the bicycle. In the end, neither of them took the bicycle. They walked away and left the half-unwrapped bicycle in the meadow. Not long after that, Balthazar the bee and Flutter the butterfly came by.
What do you think it is? Is it a bicycle?
Balthazar asked. Yes, it looks like it, Flutter replied. There's a note stuck to it. It's for Berry and Dolly from the centipede.
Let's take it to them,
Balthazar suggested. They touched the bicycle and the rest of the wrapping paper fell off. This made them laugh. Look, it's a tandem. 2 people can ride it.
Let's have a go,
Balthazar said. Hello, Berry. Hello, Dolly. We brought you your bike. You left it in the meadow, Flutter shouted. Berry and Dolly came outside. They saw Flutter and Balthazar on the bicycle and felt very silly. Oh, it's a tandem. We can both sit on it. And we had such a fight about it. They made friends again and hugged each other happily. What a super present. We wasted all our time quarrelling and we haven't made anything for the centipede. He could arrive at any minute, Berry said in a panic. Let's make him a colourful windmill. We can use pretty petals, Flutter suggested. Yes, that's a great idea, Berry and Dolly agreed. The 4 friends gathered red, purple, white, yellow and pink petals and made a windmill. Just then, the centipede arrived in a cart pulled by a mouse. The little mouse stopped in the meadow and the centipede climbed out. He gave Berry and Dolly a big hug. I see you got my present. I hope you like it. It's beautiful. We love it, Berry and Dolly said. And we made you this windmill. The centipede stayed with Berry and Dolly for 10 whole days. They went for long rides on their bicycle. They talked, sang and played a lot. They had a very good time, but the happy days passed soon. I have to go home now. I've had such a super time here, the centipede said. Do come and visit us again next summer, Berry and Dolly said, as they waved goodbye to their friend.
July. Alfonso's Ice Lollies. One warm summer day, Alfonso the cricket invited Bubble the flower beetle, Berry the snail boy and Dolly the ladybird girl to his house for the afternoon. Let's make ice lollies, he suggested. But what from and how? Asked Bubble. It's very simple. We just squash a little fruit and put it in paper cups. Then we put sticks in to make ice lollies. Then we pop the cups into the freezer and wait until they're frozen. Then we pull them out of the cups and they're finished. So they made the puree, filled the cups and put them in the freezer. We can play memory while they're freezing. I brought my memory cards with me, said Bubble. The cards were circular with pictures of all kinds of fruit on them. There were 2 of each, and the game was to find the matching card. Dolly realised that Bubble kept winning. "Oh, Bubble, you're cheating. You've marked the cards." "No, I haven't." "Yes, you have," the ladybird girl barked. "Okay, yes, I marked the cards, but I don't like losing," said the little flower beetle, and he burst into tears. "I don't like losing either," Berry added. "I've got an idea," the cricket announced. "What if we think up a game where we don't play against each other, but together, like a team?" Berry also had an idea. "Not long ago, Eddie, Balthazar, Morris and I decided to catch a train. We ran after it, but Morris was too slow, and we decided that none of us would travel on the train." "Why are you saying that?" Bubble asked. "Because we could make a good game out of that," Berry explained. "The idea is that all 4 players have to arrive at the train before the train driver. If the train driver is quicker, you lose the game because the train has left without you." "That's a super idea. Let's make a dice," said Dolly, and she painted dots on a wooden building block. Alfonso found 5 coloured stones from his pebble collection. "These will be the counters," he proudly announced. Then he produced a piece of paper and they drew 5 paths, the train and the players' houses. "Alfonso can start from the orange dot, Dolly from the red, and me from the blue, and Bubble from the yellow," Berry explained. "And the engine driver can start from the green dot," Bubble decided. "Let's start!" The engine driver was very nearly there when the last of the 4 players arrived at the platform. "Yes, we won!" Bubble shouted out. "It's time we checked on the ice lollies," the cricket interrupted. Alfonso was right, and the ice lollies were frozen. They all enjoyed their ice-cold treats. "Come on, let's go for a swim," said Alfonso when they had all eaten their lollies. They were soon joined by a visitor as the rainbow fish swam past them. Berry and Dolly asked their fishy friend to let them jump off its back into the water, and it happily joined in the fun. Then the friends spent the rest of the summer afternoon splashing around until they got tired and it was time to go home. February. Fancy dress at Stanley's. February had arrived and it was nearly time for carnival. The little forest friends were discussing what costumes they would have. "It's a shame that the fancy dress ball can only have 1 winner," Bubble announced unexpectedly. "Last year, Sophia won with her sunshine costume and it was very pretty. But I also like Stanley's dice costume and Eddie's chef's outfit." "I agree," Dolly added. "What if we change the competition this year? And we dress up in groups? The girls could be angels and the boys devils. Or we could be fruit and vegetables," the ladybird girl explained. "What a splendid idea!" And so they agreed that the boys would be fruit and the girls would be vegetables. Then they decided who would be what. The boys: Stanley, pear; Eddie, peach; Balthazar, grape; Berry, apple; Bubble, strawberry; Morris, fig; the woodworm, cherry, Charlie, pineapple, Frank, lemon, the firebug, apricot, Alfonso, banana, Dr. Owl, melon, the fireflies, blackberry, raspberry, blueberry, blackcurrant and plum. The girls, Dolly, carrot, Flutter, potato, Leapy, onion, Zafia, squash, Rosita, cabbage, Iris, broccoli, Betty, aubergine, the ant queen, pumpkin, Odette, cucumber, the star girl, lettuce, the fireflies, beetroot, radish, pepper, tomato and kohlrabi. A week passed and the day of the ball arrived. The little beetles arrived in their new costumes at Stanley's house. Dr. Owl's watermelon costume was a great success, but they all loved each other's costumes. Then Snail, Sam and Katie arrived. Hi, we decided to come along too. But Snail, Sam and Katie lived on a faraway island, and they had no way of knowing that everyone had come as a fruit or vegetable. Sam was dressed as a basketball, and Katie had come in a pencil costume. "We need to alter your costumes," Stanley stated. Alfonso immediately knew what to do. "I know! The yellow pencil can be a sweet corn, and if we take the black stripes off the basketball, it can be an orange," he suggested. "That's a super idea," the friends agreed, and they quickly transformed the new guests' costumes. Now Katie could join the vegetables with her sweet corn costume, and Snail Sam's orange outfit meant he could join the fruit. They danced until late in the evening, until Christopher the Canary arrived with a big basket of donuts. They all ate a donut and then set off home. Stanley laughed at the sight of the flying watermelon. Then Dr. Owl shouted, "Look, snowdrops!" Alfonso and Bubble rushed over and stared in wonderment at the first flowers of spring.
Bubble has hiccups. One fine day in autumn, Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble set off on a walk to the waterfall. Bubble suddenly started to hiccup. Balthazar offered him his water bottle.
Have a drink of water, that'll stop it.
Bubble took a couple of gulps, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Have a bite to eat, Dolly told him. That'll stop it. Bubble bit into his bread roll, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Hold your breath for a while, that'll stop it, Flutter advised. Bubble held his breath for a long while, but his hiccups still didn't stop. In the end, Stanley came up with a plan to make Bubble jump. He hurried off and hid behind a big tree. Just as Bubble was walking past, he jumped out with a shout from behind the tree and gave the flower beetle a fright. In fact, he was so shocked he fell over, and his hiccups stopped. But now Bubble was cross with Stanley.
That was a very mean thing to do. I don't jump out at you from behind trees.
I only wanted to help. I stopped your hiccups.
I still don't like it when people make me jump,
Bubble grumbled. All right, I won't help you next time, the stag beetle shouted back. They all carried on their way and soon arrived at the waterfall.
It looks so lovely,
Bubble shouted, and he ran so fast towards the waterfall that he slipped right in. Stanley caught him by the arms at the very last minute and pulled him out of the water.
Thank you.
Bubbles snivelled.
I'm sorry I got so cross.
We need to get home as quickly as we can because Bubble is soaked to the skin. He could catch a chill, Dolly said with concern. They then all heard thunderous footsteps from behind the trees and an enormous lizard appeared right before them.
Don't be afraid of me,
he said.
Which way are you going? I'll happily give you a ride on my back.
The forest friends were delighted by the idea and happily hopped onto the lizard's back. And as they made their way back home, Bubbles slowly started to hiccup again. I'm definitely not going to make you jump again. Hiccups can stop just as easily on their own. That's exactly what happened. By the time the lizard arrived back at Bubbles' house, his hiccups had completely stopped. The little beetle said goodbye to all his pals. After Bubble, the lizard took Stanley and Balthazar to their houses. The stag beetle and the bumblebee thanked him for the ride and waved him happily on his way. Soon after that, they arrived at Dolly's house, where the ladybird girl said goodbye to her friends and hopped off the lizard's back, shortly followed by Berry. Flutter was now the final passenger, and it was getting dark by the time the lizard delivered her back home.
Thanks so much for all your help, lizard,
Flutter said, before stepping into her house, where she went straight to bed. Bubbles. Leapy, Zephyr, Berry and Bubble were having a contest to see who could blow the biggest bubbles.
Look at the size of those. Leapy's the best,
Bubble cheered. The grasshopper girl blew bigger and bigger bubbles while the others stood around and clapped. Christopher soon arrived carrying Dolly and her yellow cousin Katie Ladybird. Can we join in the game? Berry passed the bubble blower to Dolly and the two tiny ladybirds began to blow bubbles.
Look at the size of those ones. Katie's bubbles are even bigger than Leapy's.
Leapy gave Katie a grumpy look and started to blow bubbles again, but none as large as Katie's.
You're a very clever ladybird girl. You've blown the biggest bubbles today. Katie's not even a real ladybird. Her back's yellow. She should paint it red instead. Leapy, it's mean to tease, and you're only teasing because Katie blew bigger bubbles than you.
Leapy, you've upset Katie. Help me cheer her up again.
I think I'd rather go home.
She really didn't mean it. She was only being mean because of the bubbles. Leapy arrived home in the meantime, but she did not know what to do with herself. She sat down to eat, but her food tasted all wrong. She started to draw, but she kept getting it wrong. And then she decided to take a walk. Christopher the canary happened to be flying by.
I didn't mean to upset Katie.
I know, Christopher smiled, and he wrapped his wings around the sobbing grasshopper girl.
It's not nice to tease. I didn't mean to. Katie is a real ladybird, and her yellow wings look lovely. Then tell her just that, like you've told me. Leapy decided to take Christopher's advice. She set off to tell Katie that she did not mean to upset her. But when she arrived, all she said was, "What are you doing?"
We're going for a trip to the lake,
Katie replied. And just then, Harry Hedgehog arrived with his Conker carts. Dolly and Katie jumped in the back and they were off on their way. Leapy stood and gave a sad wave. The next day, she set off again to say sorry to Katie. Katie was sitting down by the lake.
"Hi, Katie,"
she began.
"There's something I'd like to say."
But before she could begin, Spider arrived.
I've got to go, Leapy. You can tell me tomorrow, okay?
Katie told her and jumped onto Spider's back and hurried off with Dolly and Flutter.
Why are you so sad?
Bubble asked.
"I'd like to apologise to Katie, but it keeps going wrong."
Don't be sad. Come inside. We'll think of something. I've got an idea already. Why don't you give Katie a little present?
"I know. I could give her my bubble blower,"
Leapy exclaimed and hugged the little flower beetle. Leapy wrapped the bubble blower up the moment she got home, and she could hardly wait to give the yellow butterfly girls a lovely present. The sun was setting in the sky when she walked over to the spotty house. Dolly, Katie, Zephyr and Berry were planting flowers outside.
"What beautiful flowers! Can I help too?"
Of course you can. I'll show you which flowers we're planting where,
Dolly explained.
"Katie, I brought this for you,"
Leapy stuttered and passed the package to the yellow ladybird girl.
"It was silly of me to say that you're not a real butterfly."
Katie opened the parcel and smiled.
A bubble blower! Thank you, Leapy. I'm not upset anymore.
Flutter goes skiing. On a winter day, Iris the ice beetle invited all her friends to go skiing. "Has everyone got skis?" she asked. "I haven't," said Berry. "And I haven't," Leapy the grasshopper girl joined in. "Neither have I," Flutter the butterfly added. "Then let's make some skis for you. It isn't hard," Iris said with a smile. The friends all joined in. They sawed and sanded thin planks of wood, fixed foot straps to them, and made poles for everyone. And the skis were finished by lunchtime. They all walked up the hill together. When they got to the top, they strapped on their skis and put on their ski helmets. Then Iris asked, "Does everyone know how to ski? I can teach anyone who doesn't." They all nodded except for Flutter. The little butterfly girl didn't know how to ski, but she didn't say anything. "It can't be all that hard. I'll soon get the hang of it," she thought to herself. She only dared whisper the truth to the green grub. Berry was the first to go. "Whoopee!" he shouted with a broad grin as he sped down the snowy hillside. Dolly came after Berry, and then Balthazar, and then the others. Flutter was the last one to set off. She took a deep breath and pushed herself off. The only problem was she didn't know how to stop. She carried on skiing over the next hill and then the hill after that until she had skied a very long way away from the others. The little butterfly girl only stopped when she fell over into a big pile of snow. It was a while before the others realised that Flutter was missing. "Flutter doesn't know how to ski," the green grub eventually told them. "She can't ski?" they all asked in surprise. "This was her first time. She was very nervous, but she didn't dare to mention it. Oh, I'm frightened that something terrible has happened to her." The friends set off to search for Flutter. Dr. Owl was flying past and he spotted Flutter in the snow below.
"Flutter,
What happened to you?
he asked.
I couldn't stop and I fell over in the snow. I really had myself. I thought I'd never be able to stop. I don't want to ski again,
Flutter sobbed. Dr. Owl felt very sorry for the little butterfly girl, so he put her on his back and took her to his house.
I'll bandage you up and then I'll take you to Iris's house. I'm sure the others will be looking for you,
Dr. Owl said in a reassuring voice. The little friends frantically searched around, but they couldn't find Flutter anywhere. They walked sadly back to Iris's house. But Flutter was waiting for them when they arrived. They were overjoyed.
Hooray! Are you all right, Flutter? Tell us what happened to you,
Dolly told her. Flutter told them the whole story from beginning to end.
So you don't know how to ski?
Iris asked in surprise.
I'll teach you. You'll soon learn how to turn and stop, and you'll be able to ski down even the steepest hills. Thank you,
the butterfly girl said with a smile. Iris started to teach Flutter to ski the very next morning. By the end of the first day, the little butterfly girl could ski down small hills and stop safely at the bottom.
Look! Flutter can ski! This calls for a celebration,
Stanley shouted, and he started to play a tune on the icicles. The others sang and danced around the happy little butterfly. Sea Adventure. One summer day, Berry the snail and Dolly the ladybird found a colourful storybook. It was packed with pretty pictures of the sea swimming with fishes and crabs. And there was another strange animal that Berry had never seen.
It's called an octopus, but I've never seen a real one either.
Why don't we go to the sea? Berry asked excitedly.
But we don't know where the sea is, Berry.
I know, let's ask Dr. Owl. He knows everything. Do you know how to get to the sea, Dr. Owl?
You'll need to build a boat and sail down the stream. The stream will take you to the river, and the river flows right into the sea.
Berry and Dolly thanked Dr. Owl for his advice and got to work right away. The 3 owl chicks happily helped them build their boat. The 2 friends jumped in, and the stream carried them all the way to the sea.
Hooray! We're going to see the sea.
The wind blew their boat down the stream and then the river. It wasn't long before the vast blue sea was right in front of them.
We're here,
yelled Berry. He pulled the boat to the shore and tied it to a palm tree.
Come on, Dolly. Let's dive to the bottom of the sea.
The 2 friends saw all kinds of incredible creatures under the sea. They spotted a big crab and followed it to the surface.
Excuse me, can you tell us where we can find a real octopus?
Asked Dolly.
Hold on to my pincers, and I'll show you the little island where the octopus likes to sunbathe.
The crab helped them to the island and swam away. The octopus was much bigger than they'd imagined, and it frightened them. Berry and Dolly hid behind a big rock. Then the octopus had a good idea. It picked up some pebbles and started to juggle them with its 8 tentacles. The little ladybird and the snail crept out from behind the rock.
Come over here,
the octopus said.
I'll show you the prettiest pebbles on my island.
Berry and Dolly quickly made friends with the octopus, and they all had so much fun.
It's time for us to go,
said Dolly.
Goodbye. It was very nice to meet you.
Bye-bye,
replied the octopus. and gave them both a shiny pebble each. Berry and Dolly got into the boat and tried to paddle away, but it was too hard.
Oh dear, Berry, we won't be able to manage. We'll have to get out of the boat.
Dolly was really scared.
See, Berry, I told you we shouldn't have sailed so far from home.
I think you're right, Dolly.
But then the stone started to move.
Why are you so sad, little snail?
The stone asked. This made Berry laugh. It wasn't a stone after all. It was a turtle.
My friends, the rainbow fish, are about to begin their long journey. They'll swim up the stream all the way to the source. I'm sure they'd be happy to take you with them.
Berry and Dolly said goodbye to the turtle and sat on the back of the captain fish. Then they all set off on their way home. By the time it was getting dark, the fish had reached the clearing where the ladybird's spotty house stood. Berry and Dolly thanked the fish for their help, and they swam away.
See, Dolly, all's well that ends well,
the little snail said wisely.